But things in our life don't always go according to plan. We can plan to go in one direction, but life situations, life circumstances will take us in a complete different direction. Yes, there's a time for trauma, sadness, grieving, but there's also a time for us to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and not bounce back, but bounce forward. Please welcome back to the stage, Sam Cawthorne. Thank you. Thank you very much, Craig, for that amazing intro that I wrote. Do me a favour, turn to the person next to you and just say, thanks for being the best looking person in the room. Come on, do that for me. Come on, turn to the person next to you. Thanks for being the best looking person. No, stop it. No, tell me again. No, stop it. No, tell me. Very good. So one of my books is actually all about this whole area of how to bounce forward, how to transform crisis into success. So I'm going to start with this word here. It's the word decision. The word decision comes from the Latin word decidere, incision. Scission, right, means to cut. We know that. And the word decide, the word side, suicide, pesticide. The word side means to kill. So get this, the word decision actually means to cut off and kill. I believe the world lacks leaders that make decisions. Why? Because we love keeping our options open. We love sitting on the fence. Whereas I actually now believe that through the right type of mindset, we need to make powerful decisions in order for us to look at the future in more of a clearer light and get clarity on what that might look like. A few years ago, I had clearly I've had a major accident. But just after that, I won this big award. It was the Young Australian of the Year. It was the highest honour of any Australian in the whole of the country. So thank you. So get this. They flew me through to the capital of Australia there in Canberra, and I'm about to meet the Australian Prime Minister. At the time, his name is Kevin Rudd. And I'm thinking to myself, what can I do in order for the Prime Minister to remember me? Because as you guys know, PM probably meets hundreds of people every day, as if they remember everyone that they meet. So I needed to make a decision. Yes, I'm going to do something in order for the Prime Minister to remember me. So I have lots of different prosthetic arms. Okay, so I've got one arm for playing golf. I've got another arm for like a swimming arm. I do. So it's like a little flipper. I've also got a bionic arm. It's the most advanced bionic arm in the world. It's worth $120,000 US, and it actually works on my nerve endings and on my muscles. Actually, get this, I have an app for my arm that I can control. If you guys downloaded the app, you can control my hand. Anyway, so I remember flying there to Canberra and I had my cosmetic arm on, right? So it looks exactly the same as my normal hand. So if I wore a long sleeve jacket on, which I was on that day, you can't notice at all that I had a prosthetic arm. So Glenn McGrath, Adam Gilchrist, a few other people were there, and I walked up to the Prime Minister of Australia and he looked at me, and so he comes over to me to come and say hello, but also to shake my hand. Again, he didn't notice at all that I had a prosthetic arm. As the Prime Minister of Australia came over to shake my hand, I detached my hand and my hand came off into his hand. And so, Glenn McGrath, Adam Gilchrist, they saw what was happening. They just started cracking up, laughing. The world's media came in, taking photos, everything like this. Prime Minister Kevin Rudd standing there holding my hand, yeah? And in his Australia Day speech, the Prime Minister of Australia, he said this. He said, look, today we're surrounded by very significant Australians. We have Aboriginal elders, we have community leaders, we have sports heroes. But nothing can ever beat the intro I had to Sam this morning, because when you meet Sam, it's an extraordinary experience, because when you shake his hand, he'll leave his hand in your hand. And in his Australia Day speech, the Prime Minister of Australia looked over to the other side of the room and he goes, and thanks, Sam, I'm still recovering from therapy today. I just wanted to give you some actual evidence that this really did happen. So as you can see, there's PM's wife, Therese, she's just lost it. There's Adam Gilchrist there in the background. And literally the Prime Minister of Australia is just handing me back my hand. It was a very funny moment, that's for sure. But I think we all have moments in our life, yeah. Some moments can be hilarious, funny, you'll never forget that. But then we have other moments in our life. And they can be quite life-defining and life-challenging. Recently, I came across a word, and the word is called this kairos. It's the Greek word for time. So contrasting to chronos or chronological time, meaning ordinary or normal time, kairos time is laden with meaning and choice. So get this, the dictionary meaning of the word kairos is this, is a moment within a moment. I love that. A particular moment in where drastic change takes place. I'll say that again. A moment within a moment. A particular moment in where drastic change takes place. My kairos moment happened a few years ago. I had a major car accident, which then left me with a very significant disability. The doctor said I'll never be able to walk ever again. It was really interesting that as I was going through my rehabilitation, there was a big sort of newspaper article that said, "The bounce back father." And you know how we've all heard of this terminology. Guys, we need to bounce back from natural disasters. We're bouncing back from terrorism. We need to bounce back from COVID. We've even heard it today where, guys, we need to bounce back. But for me, there's something fundamentally wrong, even just in and around the true understanding of that. Because if you think about it, right, like you and I, whether it's in our personal, our professional life, we have a bit of a crisis, you hit a downturn, and then we hit a place which is called rock bottom, yeah? But then we're told, come on, let's bounce back to this place that got us to the problem in the first place. Sometimes we look at the good old days, even right now, where I've even heard some people tonight to say, oh, look, things are already back to how they were. A lot of people are looking at how we can go back to where we were back in 2019, early 2020. But the reality is it's actually not about going back to where we've been. We need to learn from these tough times, learn from the crises, and then bounce forward into what we can become. So I'm going to share with you 3 really simple ways that really helped me to bounce forward through my car accident. Because ultimately, it was really, really quite interesting, just these 3 things that I've actually now shared to over 1 million people live in rooms all around the world. And I'd like you to even look at these for your own journey as well and what this might look like as you bounce forward into the second half of 2022 and beyond. Let's have a look at these. The very first one is this. Something that my surgeon said to me, he said, hey Sam, now that you've lost one of your arms, you've wrecked your leg, they even said to me initially, you'll never be able to walk ever again. Isn't it a good feeling when you prove the doctors wrong, yeah? But one thing he said, Sam, you won't be able to now rely on your physical ability for your work. You'll have to now rely on your mental capacity for you to influence and inspire others. And this was something that I absolutely really realized that in order for me to find my success, I needed to upgrade this number 1 skill set on the planet, which is communication, speaking in front of people. And so then I immersed myself in this and ultimately then I became a professional speaker. Other people then came to me and said, Sam, how did you learn it? What did you learn? And so then I started to teach other people. These 2 areas that will really help you to master communication for influence. The first one is this, is the content. These are the words that we say. So whatever framing that we're actually framing, whether it is to our relationships in our family, in our personal life, or is it in our professional life, to our boss, to our team, to our colleagues, we need to understand that getting rid of all the words that shouldn't be there and communicate in short, sharp, bite-sized chunks, the media call it sound bites, in order for you to win people's attention, is the content, what you say. But then the second area to master communication is the method, how you say it. And we've already learned a lot of that today. Non-verbals, body language, Tonality. One thing that we're about to launch globally is the world's first AI-powered influencer, which basically means we can now give you feedback through artificial intelligence on your filler words, your facial expressions, how often you're blinking, your gestures, your tonality, your words per minute, all through AI, which is just absolutely awesome. We've already started beta testing. So then the first thing that I learnt in order for me to bounce forward was to actually upgrade this number one skill set on the planet, mastering communication for influence. The second thing is this. Story trumps information. I like to call this story showing. Now, one thing that we do know is that our logic helps us to make sense of things. All the right information, when someone gives us facts, statistics, case study, when they give us evidence, super important to actually inform us. But just because I've been informed doesn't necessarily mean I've been influenced or I'm going to take action. You know those feelings sometimes and you think, man, it totally makes sense, but I'm not feeling it. This is why story is always going to be a fundamental foundation of how we as humans are wired. Stories have been passed through generations. We love going to the movies, love reading a novel. But I believe that there is a shift that has happened over the last few years, right? An average storyteller will inform. That's where a lot of education stops. Teachers have been taught us how to inform. A good storyteller will persuade. This is where a lot of salespeople stop, or they've taught us how to persuade others. A great storyteller will inspire. And now I love inspiration, right? I'll go to the latest Marvel movie, and I'm inspired by that. But have you noticed inspiration will not necessarily lead to action? I'm inspired. Wow, that's inspiring. But am I going to take action? So there needs to be a shift. It started to happen around 10 years ago. Everyone started talking about visual storytelling. We did, didn't we? We said, let's use more images, let's use more videos, around 10 years ago. But we're still mentioning this word tell. And to be quite honest, we're sick and tired of people telling us what to do. It's true, isn't it? We're at home, our mum and dad, they tell us what to do. Then we're at school, our teachers tell us what to do. Then we're in the workplace, our boss tells us what to do. Now all of a sudden we're meant to be storytellers. I mean, nowadays that word, there's like a resilience. Don't you tell me what to do. There is, isn't there? Let me ask you. If I said, let me tell you something, compared to me saying, let me show you something, yeah? It lands totally different to the listener. I've suddenly moved from head to head, more heart to heart, which then means an excellent story shower will transform. What's transformation? It means that I've been informed, it means that I've been persuaded, it means that I've been inspired, but now I'm ready to take action. That's what transformation is. But this isn't the tipping point. The tipping point is what we like to call transcendence. It's like an out-of-body experience. It's like a sense of timelessness. I believe some of the greatest communicators and people that share stories can transcend our thinking. So then the second thing that I learned was story showing trumps information. Third thing is this: people follow me. One thing that I've also learned, and I mentioned this earlier on in the couch conversation, is that we no longer trust brands, companies, logos, organisations, media, governments. We now trust human beings. People follow people. And my encouragement to you, if you really truly want to look for ways how you can build greater influence within your families, within your working environments, is how can you literally share your own personal story, but also how can you get your face out there greater and out there in the marketplace. It's a fundamental thing for you to build greater influence with your listeners. The other day, I was sitting there on the couch and we just literally was watching a video and my face was actually up in the video. And my son, he goes, "Wow, Dad, look, you're famous." And the reality is he just simply saw me up on a screen. That's it. What are you doing right now to get your face out there? And by the way, you're all really good looking. But people follow people. And in this profile economy of the future, what do you need to do to get your message, get your story, get your profile out there within your workplace? And so when you speak, people want to listen. I'm going to finish off with one story. This here is a story of my brother David. He's the youngest in our family of 11. Everyone say hi, David. He's the youngest, so I'm part of 11, right? So my mum, she was born in Kolkata. Actually, they're in Kharagpur, so she's Bengali. Yeah, Balawachia. My father, he's born in Scotland. He's Scottish, and I was born in Australia. One of 11, big family. I'm number 9 in the family order. Try and work me out. I'm still trying to, yeah? Youngest in the family, and recently he was diagnosed with cancer. And it really saddened me seeing my younger brother go through chemo, radiation, lose all his hair, everything like that. But I suppose I was the same blood match as him, so I donated my own bone marrow to my brother. And we're all believing, David, you're going to make it through, you'll be fine. But recently he passed away, he died. And it was really sad to me to say goodbye to my best mate, my younger brother. But things in our life don't always go according to plan. We can plan to go in one direction, but life situations, life circumstances will take us in a complete different direction. Yes, there's a time for trauma, sadness, grieving, but there's also a time for us to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and not bounce back, but bounce forward. So what was your kairos moment? And what was the decision that you need to make today in order for you to bounce forward for your tomorrow? Because I also believe that our greatest days are ahead of us. Why? Because the best is yet to come. Thank you very much.